like to call to order the meeting for the Tennessee Board of Licensing Contractors, Tuesday, November 29th. If we could, I'd like to start a roll call, beginning over here with my left with Reese Smith.
Reese Smith, Franklin.
Randy Chase, Nashville.
Keith Whittington, Johnson City.
Mark Brudd, Knoxville.
Jennifer Ransom, Memphis.
I'm sure that all of you are aware that since we last met, a good member of our board has passed away, Benny Jones. Really hate that for the family, but at this time I would like to just take a moment, to have a moment of silence for Benny. Thank you. This time I'll entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? See none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. The motion carries. I'll entertain a motion to approve the board meeting minutes for the September 27th meeting.
Move for approval.
Second.
A motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. The motion carries. Now we're going to have a little discussion about the guarantee agreements. We've got the West Tennessee Home Builders Association here that's got a question about it. So if you want to come on up and address the board, please make sure you speak into the mic clearly. You'll have to get up close to it.
Is that it?
There we go. Better.
I'll put it on speaker. Is that okay? Okay. Yes, I'm Mark Meese, and I'm president of West Tennessee Home Builders Association. Really, I'm here to maybe start a dialogue about promulgating some rules that might address an issue that came to my attention. One of our good members and a past president of the Home Builders Association, West Tennessee, Don Kaler, he does business in a number of different states, and of course, Tennessee always prides itself on being a business-friendly state. And doing business in other states, obviously, he has to deal with the Contractors Board in various other states, and it is surprisingly much more risky and difficult to get a contractor's license in Tennessee than some of the other states that he's dealing with. I'm going to let him come up and kind of describe what the situation is that he's experienced. But what they're requiring of him and other states, he does a lot of hotel renovations and things like that. So just depending on where the work comes, that's where he winds up going to get his contractor's license. But in these various other states, it's become, he doesn't go through nearly the requirements that Tennessee poses on him. Even though he's been a long-time contractor, he's been doing it for probably 50 years or so. And it's to the point where he may not choose to license again in the state of Tennessee because of opening himself up to personal liability through the only avenue being that personal guarantee. But I'd like Don to come up and kind of just heighten the awareness of the board as to what he experiences in other states and maybe give y'all a perspective on that.
Good morning. Thank you for having me here this morning to where I can discuss this with you. Thank you for being open enough to listen to us today, too. My name is Don Kaler. I'm a member of the West Tennessee Home Builders Association and been a contractor, a general contractor licensed in Tennessee for a very long time. Really, that's what brought all this to our attention. And Mark being an attorney, he's the first one in my attorney. He's the first one that is also the president of the association this year. He's one of the first ones that I wanted to know about this because it really scared me. Of course, anybody who went through the housing crisis back in '05 through 10 knows that personal guarantees can be a terrible thing in a lot of cases. And mainly banks are the ones that want personal guarantees, somebody who loans a lot of money. But I've never seen a situation like this where a licensing unit would do so. My stepson and I own a business now. I used to work with my brother as a home builder. Now I'm in more of commercial end. He's 51 years old and I'm 72. So a point comes in life where you got to start making some changes. So one of the first things I did was with our company, we were more of a pass-through unit instead. And what I was concerned about, I'm being this age, I had to start taking my redistribution of my retirement accounts this year. And so I didn't want to pass through the income as you would have to total your income from your company as well as your personal income. And that would certainly bring you to another bracket, you know. So I wanted to deviate that. Plus some tax relief that we got from the last administration. It was really and the main thing is I wanted to protect my private assets as well as my son's because he's going to be taking over our business in 2 or 3 years and I'm going to lay on the beach somewhere. But anyway, I was kind of shocked when I applied because I wanted to change the mode of business from the pass-through to an Inc. Incorporated. And when I sent in all the information, I thought it was going to be a pretty easy process. And I am an all-cash business. And I know you guys are looking for somebody who has fixed assets. And the problem is that I do business in a lot of different states. And it takes a lot of cash to operate the way I do, especially in the commercial side of business. But it didn't seem like y'all were really understanding that even though I have a long history with the state of Tennessee, I've never had a bankruptcy. I've never had a complaint here that I know of, unless y'all know of one. I've always had a great reputation with my customers as well as my community. But having a personal guarantee would allow signing a personal guarantee, as I did, would allow a lawyer, such as some of those you see on TV at night, once they know you signed one, if you have another situation, they can use it in another situation too. Am I right? So it just exposes my private assets more than I would like to. It exposes me privately, and at this point in my age, I certainly don't want to be battling for my private assets at this time. So I'm currently a contractor in 5 different states. The process that and I don't want to, what we do here, y'all do a great job, and I'm very appreciative of what y'all doing for the state, but I want to know what I experienced in other states. And one is in Louisiana. I have an unlimited license there. And basically it's a similar type process, but all they wanted was a notarized affidavit of my financial statement. Now, Mississippi was a little bit different. I've got a $1.5 million license there. They required that I do a reviewed statement. And not an audited statement, but a reviewed statement, which I did, and that went through very easily. South Carolina, where I'm licensed, they were the same. Georgia, all we had to do is a statement of income notarized. Of course, you had to turn in your statements too. You had to notarize the affidavit. We got an unlimited license in Georgia. Florida was probably what we've run into from all the states that we work in. Florida's probably one of the toughest ones out there. What they required simply was a background check. You did have to get fingerprinted, and then you fingerprint. Let me see what else it was. Oh, a simple credit report. Not one of those other states has asked for a personal guarantee. A personal guarantee is damaging to a contractor. Nobody wants to sign them. They just expose you too much. And after talking, after thinking about, I know that there's got to be hundreds throughout Tennessee of other general contractors like myself that do cash. A lot of our guys, we got a pickup truck, an ad machine, and a computer at home. That's how a lot of us guys build houses. That's how a lot of us guys do commercial projects too, because we're always traveling. We don't really have a base, and we're small, but we're always out there. So I'm just asking that the board would please reconsider the personal guarantee that y'all are asking on all cash businesses. Can we not look a little bit further at a bank letter of credit? I sent in a reviewed statement, which cost me $7,000 from an accountant to have, and it wasn't even looked at. It was just that I didn't have any fixed assets, and y'all wanted to guarantee. So I think history with a person like myself who's been around for so long and has a great reputation, has never has caused a problem, ought to be worth something. Nobody ever asked me for an interview. He just considered that I was a new guy just starting out or whatever. But I think that was unfair, and I'd like a little bit more consideration if it's possible that we could do that. I'd be glad to answer any questions. I'd be glad to work with y'all on trying to solve this issue. And I appreciate, again, y'all giving me the time today. Thank you.
Follow up and say, I know the state, the Home Builders Association Tennessee, is concerned about this. I thought Charles Snyder might be here tonight or today. Oh, there he is. Hey, Charles. But the one thing I think that, and I don't want to speak out of turn, Charles, because you can come up here and speak if you want to, but I don't think we want to do away with the option of a personal guarantee. I think maybe what we're looking for is maybe another pathway that could be promulgated that would give somebody that certainly has a long history of doing business in the state of Tennessee a pathway that would be protecting consumers, but yet not exposing his personal assets at this stage in life, or certainly for people that are in his position. And again, that means promulgating perhaps new rules and that sort of thing, which I know is not an easy short-term thing to request, but this is, like I said, just a dialogue to get things started out, I suppose.
Mark, we started this process back in 2012. This went through quite a few years of back and forth between the board, attorneys, Home Builders Association. There was a lot of thought went into this. I'm not saying that nothing can be done about his situation, but I am saying that the cash only is what kicked that in. And I'm not sure how the board would feel, and this would have to be something that we would probably have to have a designed meeting to discuss. I'm not sure that we're ready to or able to even discuss that at a meeting today. But we can open up a dialogue and conversations. But it would require rules changes. That takes years. In his situation, he doesn't have years.
Absolutely, and I'm not asking for special dispensation just for Don. I think that this is just something, again, that as a Tennessean, I'd hate for good, long-time contractors to be faced with the situation that Don's faced with right now in order to continue to do business in the state of Tennessee. When other states don't have such challenging or financially difficult requirements, I guess.
We actually put that in there to help.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people that their cash or assets aren't enough in their business to qualify for a limit that they desire. So we put the personal guarantee in there to assist and aid them to up their limit. Therefore, we were actually intended to be more friendly, not prohibitive.
And I understand this, but if you look at the other states, that's where we see the disparity. And it's not that we want to do away with that personal guarantee. I mean, for somebody who's young, just getting started, doesn't have the track record and that sort of thing, maybe that's an avenue that would be appropriate. But could there be another avenue? And again, I know this is not a short-term request. It's not a short-term situation at all. It's just something that I felt should be brought to the board's attention. And we appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thoughts?
I do agree with him that if you've been in business for a long time and the fact that you're only a cash-only business, in my opinion, wouldn't necessarily require think we use it to business. Make sure they're capable of. We can do anything about it.
No, I don't know, but that's something that maybe we could add to our rules as maybe we can consider time in business, we could consider the amount of cash, we can, consider the list of experience, that they submit and not require that personal guarantee, but maybe we can require something in lieu of. I don't know what that might be. We'd have to have attorneys advise us, you know, as to what might be the best route to go. Something that the state can be assured that everything is on the up and up financially wise, because that's actually what we're here is more concerned about. Sorry, but those that don't live up to the expectations.
The way it was explained to me when I came on the board was that cash can be moved in and out of the business very easily. So you put it in the last day of the year and get your financial statement and then take it out the next day type of thing. So that's what we're trying to avoid is.
We did just adjust in the last few years your personal guarantee. You can limit your personal guarantee, and we've got huge bold letters advising the applicant, please don't sign this until you have checked everything and make sure you can limit. It's not your whole personal, you can limit it.
Okay, we'll move along. But we will, before I completely move away, we'll make sure that we put this in some discussions and try to see what we can work up as a board. And I'm not sure that we may not have to have a rulemaking hearing, or we may just make it a policy that we can do this moving forward. Hopefully that'll help ease your mind there.
The application says that you can have a bank letter of credit. Did I cover that? I don't, and did I talk about the bank letter of credit?
Yes.
As well. It's so expensive. It doesn't make good sense. Especially, I might work in Tennessee for 2 years. I might not work here for 2 years and come back, you know, so I've worked in other states and I might here also. But it's not really for me. Well, it is for me. Now, let me back up there that I want y'all to consider this, but we've got my son's coming up soon, and I know when I change the business to him, he's going to be having to look at the same thing. But I think the amount of cash in a business, if I can prove that I've had that amount of cash in business for 3 years, 5 years, whatever that y'all think is adequate, I think that's the main issue. Y'all wanted fixed assets. I could go buy 2 pickup trucks and a computer, I guess, and make the smallest the amount, you know, as far as that. But I don't want to do that either. But I just think each individual needs to be looked at separately, not just be broad brush, because nobody really gave me an opportunity to at the board of licensing to that I talked to gave me a chance to explain my situation. It was either this or you're out. So I went ahead and did it. But yet I'm apprehensive about doing state business in the state of Tennessee because I'm exposed here. And I'm sure I could be exposed. Somebody come up here and find out I signed a personal guarantee and get me in Georgia or Florida. But yet at least I'm a little bit more protected down there than I am here in the state. And Mark, I remember when Governor Haslam talking about we want to be a more business-friendly state. We want to be more friendly to retirees moving to Tennessee. This makes us more business-friendly, I think, when we look at each person's general contractor or applicant or general contractor who's been around a while, look at each of their situations separately and judge them accordingly. Thank you again for the time you've given me.
Thank you guys too. We appreciate it. We'll go into licenses and approvals by the board. Hardships. We've got contractor initial apps, those that were waived.
Move for,
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
aye.
Opposed likewise. The motion carries. We've got revisions. These are all the increases, add classes, mode, and name changes. Can I get a motion for approval?
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed likewise. The motion carries. LLEs and LLPs. Do we have any?
We had one LLP that I approved a waiver on, license number 4426. That was the only one for the limited electrical ones. No, it looks like he approved them. Okay.
Can I get a motion to approve the LLPs, LLEs, and the home improvements?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. The motion carries. Then we have applications with factors, and it looks like all the factors have been approved. We do have two here. Jennifer, would you like to read?
Yeah, let's see. Whole Associates, is that, 78005, yeah, 78005. They were bidding, a $3 million project, without a license, and so they thought their Mississippi license was going to be sufficient for that work. And so we imposed a $7,500 penalty because of the size of the bid, which they actually got. They got that project. So they haven't started it, but they did bid it, and we're planning to do the work.
Are they gonna do the work?
If we approve their license, they're planning to.
Get a little dizzy between meetings, but at some point, didn't we say that they could not this one, but that you were not allowed to do the work if you bid?
Did we?
I'm sort of asking, but in times past, are you allowed to do the work if you bid?
Law says you can't. If you bid without being properly licensed, you cannot participate on the job or rebid until you're licensed.
Until you're licensed, okay. So we'll just have to communicate that to them.
They'd have to rebid or, okay.
That's the only one I have on here.
I get a motion to approve the applications with factors. Wait a minute.
Interviews is also in this category, I think. I had two interviews that I
Okay,
wanted
yeah.
to bring up. The first one is Sam Edwards. He is a building inspector, Trousdale County, that has requested to have a waiver of the contractor's exam. And two of us have looked at his credentials and don't feel like we should grant that waiver, but he wanted me to ask the rest of the board. Waive his all of the people.
I don't see the extenuating circumstances for him not to test.
I'll let him know that he needs to take that exam in order to become a licensed contractor. Second one is a plumbing subcontractor from the Chicago area. This is his first job in Tennessee. He bid it close to a year ago, started work earlier this year, discovered he had to have a license and filed an application, and now he's almost halfway completed with the job. Randy and I talked to him. He's done large projects. He's after an unlimited plumbing license, but he has submitted a review. Since this is his first experience in Tennessee, what Randy and I are proposing to him is that we issue him a $2,500 fine for bidding and performing work without a license. A rental guarantee for the difference between what the company's net worth is and what he needs to get to $3 million. And audited. In the audit. As a allow him to do that.
I have, license number 78458 Pinkstone Builders. There was a question I had on their experience, but after the interview, I approved, their application. Let's see, Jennifer had one, 78334. It was Cutman's Construction. That
Yes.
was,
So we discussed his additional experience, which he's going to be submitting to Kathy, and resubmit the application. I also had the 78155 Derek Osborne Construction. Interviewed him. He will also be submitting additional experience that he's had in recent years to Kathy for review and approval. And then 77616 Ringhofer Home Services. He was going to appeal the fine. He recognized that he was contracting without a license, and so he accepted the fine and is hoping that he'll get the license approved upon payment of that civil penalty. That's all.
at a 7720 Gas Masters that you approved.
Yes, I approved that one.
Then there was, home improvement number 7682. They came to appeal a fine. We will issue the license upon payment of the civil penalty. Phillips Home Builders, there was a question on the experience. That's 78415. I did approve that. I don't see anything here that happened with Caldwell Plumbing.
That's the one I had.
Oh, that was Mark's, okay. Then one last one that I did was BAC Chattanooga Group. They came to appeal a fine of their experience and have accepted the fine upon, and will issue the license upon payment of the civil penalty. Can I get a motion now to accept the applications with factors and interviews?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. Next thing we have up, Carolyn, I'll let you handle this, is continuing education applicants.
The first one is, all four contractors LLC, and upon reviewing it, it doesn't appear to be complete. They left out a lot of information. The instructors didn't provide a resume, and, they just sort of provided a paragraph under the course, and it didn't really show any construction experience. I think one was an attorney, and the other one had a pressure washing business, and, so they just really didn't have, any background in construction, and they didn't, put on there what the fee was gonna be, so it was really incomplete, so I would like it to be held until they can provide more information and have you all relook at it at that time. And then, the next one is Tech Training LLC. He is, the owner, James Lee. He's got lots of experience, construction experience, and he's also approved in other states to offer continuing education training. And, based on all that information, I feel like he would, be qualified to be a RCE. And then, the last one is a pre-licensed exam course provider, and this is actually just a renewal, and they've been licensed since 2007, and they have to get reapproved every 3 years, and this is for American Contractors Exam Services, Inc., and, their information was complete, and we do not have any complaints. So I believe, they would qualify to be renewed.
Move for approval of all three.
Second.
Do we want to approve the all four contractors with their application not complete?
No. I'll move for approval of number 11 and number 12. RCE and American.
A second.
Got a motion and a second to approve Tech Training LLC and the renewal of American Contractors Exam Services and the denial for All for Contractors LLC. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. The motion carries. The legal report.
Yes, good morning. Changes to the legal report are as follows. Number 43, complaint number 2022-037671. The penalty is increased to $5,000 from the previous recommendation of $2,500. Number 47, complaint number 2022-032301. The penalty is increased to $5,000 from the previous recommendation of $3,500. Number 63, complaint number 2022-020011. The penalty is increased to $5,000 from the previous recommendation of $2,500. Number 65, complaint number 2021080531. The penalty is increased to $2,000 from the previous recommendation of $1,000. Number 66, complaint number 2002-012151. The penalty is increased to $6,750 from the previous recommendation of $4,000. Number 72, complaint number 2022-027331. The update is that the legal department received a contract. The contract was for $50,000, and it has been within a year since the unlicensed activity occurred. So the recommendation is going to be that the executive director resolve the matter through the statutory citation process and instead of the previous recommendation of closure. Number 73, complaint number 2022027471. The recommendation is to close. Number 74, complaint number 2022023341. There was a question whether or not the respondent has applied for a license. We don't know if he's actually applied yet. He contacted legal, was very apologetic, and said he was going to begin steps to apply for a license. Otherwise, the recommendation remains the same. Number 75, complaint number 2022037811. There was a typo in the legal report. The legal report should read that the complainant requested we close the case, not the respondent. The complainant requested that we close the case. Otherwise, the recommendation is going to remain the same. Number 77, complaint number 2022043101. The recommendation is to close. We cannot close and flag this case because the respondent is not licensed. For number 103, complaint number 2022027121. There was a question about who pulled the permit in this case. The respondent, the electrical contractor, pulled the electrical permit in the general contractor's name. The general contractor's license expired in 2021. So the recommendation is going to remain the same, a $2,000 civil penalty for pulling a permit for an unlicensed contractor. And that concludes our updates to the legal report.
I think our question was who did the electrical work?
Electrical work was performed by the respondent.
The electrical contractor with a license, right?
Yes.
Right, but he pulled the permit in the unlicensed general contractor's name. And we have a rule against that.
Have a copy of that permit?
Yes, we do.
Why would they issue a permit to an unlicensed general contractor for electrical work?
We'd have to ask the county codes or city codes.
Where was it?
Tri-City area.
That change your opinion on it or anything?
I guess I'm having a hard time understanding why we're fining the electrical contractor if he was licensed, went and got the permit and did the work.
The electrical contractor pulled the permit in an unlicensed contractor's name, and we have a rule, and I can give you the rule number. Rule 0680-01-.27, subsection 3, where a licensed contractor cannot pull a permit for an unlicensed contractor. So the general contractor's license expired in 2021. So this individual, the respondent, the electrical contractor, pulled a permit for a general contractor whose license expired.
But he is an electrical contractor that pulled the license to do electrical work. Then who performed the electrical work? The licensed electrical contractor? I guess we're wondering, he's licensed, his license didn't expire till 2023, so why didn't he just pull it under his name and go do the electrical work? I guess that's what we're trying to understand. So who are we finding? Are we finding him for just putting the wrong name on the permit request?
I think that's the recommendation, but I mean, if you would like us to, I mean, we can get more information from codes on, and just find out, you know, what's going on with this, because it looks like the electrical contractor pulled the permit in the GC's name, who is unlicensed, but actually did the work.
Why would, I don't understand why the complainant would want his electrical guy to be fined. I mean, why wouldn't they just change the name on the permit to the
It's
electrical?
like he going after the general contractor who didn't have a license or
Right.
had an
Well,
expired
I
license.
guess the question I'd have to answer now, listening to this, would be, did the electrical contractor use his license, or did he use the contractor's license to pull the permit? Because I don't think the codes department would have issued it to an unlicensed person, so
Maybe we should table this one till the next meeting and check into some more of the details.
We can defer this one to the next board meeting and look into more of the details. So specifically, the board wants to know if the electrical contractor used his license to pull the permit
yes.
versus the,
We just want some clarity, probably start with the complainant.
Right.
What was the how did this all kind of
What's he
unfold?
complaining about?
Yeah, what's he complaining about? And then maybe get a response from the electrical guy, but seems like it's just sort of a,
Okay, can I get a motion then to accept the legal report with the exception of the one case in question?
so moved.
Have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye?
Aye.
Opposed likewise, and the motion carries. We're supposed to go into an executive session, and I've not seen anyone to do that yet. I wonder if they're here and ready. Okay, then at this time, the board will move to an executive session. Then we will return to, finish the business of the meeting. I think we're supposed to go out as a board to another room. Yeah. If I may, we'll go back into session. And while Randy's coming back up, on the legal report, I have a last-minute addition to the legal report. And this is an application that was a monetary increase. And I had asked the legal department to look this one over. They had listed several projects that were in the millions of dollars that was considerably over their monetary limit, and there's 5 of them, and I make a recommendation that we do a $5,000 per offense. There's 5 projects for going over their limit more than 10%. Stuart, you want to say something?
Is that actually on the legal report, or was that a review?
This was a review.
So we need to open up a new complaint against that respondent.
Yes.
Okay, and your recommendation would be 5,000 per? Okay. So we'll get that open.
That's license number 17609.
know what you're talking about.
Okay,
All right, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'd
Yes.
like to make a motion.
okay,
Is it order at this time?
yes.
I'd like to make a motion that the board approve the recommendation that was presented to us in executive session by the department.
Have a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second, is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. The motion carries. The next item on the agenda will be board updates, the budget and legislation.
Yes, on the budget update, it shows us in the red quite a bit already, a negative $205,537. So this is something that I can get with physical because we had a great expense and I don't have any backup on what it was for, but the Edison is usually around 80, 60, never over, maybe 106,000 it shows, but it was, it shows like 378,000.
Why is that?
So I'll have to get with physical to see if this is some kind of error.
But I've noticed over the last several budgets that we've gotten that the board has been increasingly getting these expenditures that weren't there before that have doubled and tripled. And nobody seems to be able to explain it.
I'll get with physical and see what's
Or maybe
going on
they
with
put
it.
other departments in with us.
It's like, why it's increased so much.
Maybe we can get an answer by the next meeting, because that's, I think, the second or third time that we've noticed this. And we've been talking about it, and, we don't know where it's coming from. So if we could maybe get an explanation, possibly. Thank you.
And then I do have a Go Build update. This was from Brian Kelly, and it is in your tablets, but he just wanted to let everybody know that they do have some new marketing and some public relations going on. They're going to have more social media, and they have, I guess they have hired a public affairs company, and they're going to have a day on the Hill, and they're going to be going around and marketing the Go Build to try to get more labor in the industry. And so that's just part of their, they also had a large write-up in the Tennessean about needing more labor and, going to, choosing a, going to a skilled trade school in lieu of going to college. And so there was a real good article in the Tennessean, and I'll put that in there, and I can also email this to you so you'll have time to read it.
Yes, I wanted to update the board on statutory citations that we have sent out since the last board meeting in September. Since the last board meeting in September, we have sent out 10 citations that have been served, and $1,500 have been collected through the statutory citation process since the last board meeting. I also have an update on number 103 on the legal report. That is complaint number 20220272121. Stuart and I looked this up, and the electrical contractor the subcontractor who is licensed, actually pulled the permit in his name. We had a separate complaint against the general contractor for unlicensed activity, and that complaint is number 102 on the legal report. With respect to the general contractor, we are unable to serve the general contractor because he is in Florida. So I spoke with Pam Spicer about this, and the recommendation that we had discussed was to close and flag the case in case that general contractor decides to move back to Tennessee. It's flagged and it's in the system. But based on the fact that the general contract, the electrical contractor, the subcontractor, that is 103 on the legal report, complaint number 2022-027-121. He pulled the electrical permit in his own name. We looked at the license number and it was pulled in his own name. It just, under customer name on the electrical permit, it had the general contractor's name on one of the electrical permits that he pulled, and I think that may have been a clerical error, because on the second electrical permit that he pulled, everything was written under his own actual name. But the license number we looked up and everything, it was his license that he used to pull the electrical permit. So the new recommendation is going to be to close the case.
I get a motion to accept the recommendation.
So moved.
Have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. The motion carries. Any other business to come before the meeting? Seeing none, I call the meeting adjourned. The next meeting is January 31st. Hope to see you all there. Here.